She knew my mother died of breast cancer. So when she claimed she had the same disease, I didn't ask questions, I just opened my wallet. 3 years and $347,000 later, I discovered she'd weaponized my deepest trauma. Here's how predators choose their victims. Before we begin, please like, subscribe and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? United States, Canada, Malaysia, UK, Australia, Jamaica. I found the truth on a Tuesday afternoon in March, 3 years after I'd given up everything. The laptop sat open on our kitchen table in our cramped Seattle apartment, the rain hammering against the window like it had something urgent to say. The folder was labeled B Project. Inside were messages, forum posts, fabricated medical documents, and a detailed breakdown of every dollar she'd extracted from me. $347,000. 3 years. All of it built on a lie. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to when I still had a life worth destroying. My name is Brian Mitchell, and in the spring of 2021, I was living what most people would call the American dream. At 42, I'd worked my way up to senior project manager at a software development firm in downtown Seattle. The salary was $195,000 a year, plus bonuses. I had a corner office on the 19th floor with a view of Elliott Bay, a 2-bedroom condo in Capitol Hill that I'd almost paid off, and a retirement account that made my financial advisor smile. I wasn't flashy about it. Growing up in Tacoma with a single mom who worked 2 jobs taught me the value of stability. I drove a 5-year-old Honda Accord, bought my clothes at Nordstrom Rack, and the most extravagant thing I owned was an espresso machine that cost $400. My younger sister Jennifer used to tease me about being boring. "You're 42 going on 60, Brian," she'd say over Sunday brunch at our favorite diner on Pike Street. Maybe she was right. My life was predictable in the best possible way. Morning runs around Green Lake, work, occasional happy hours with colleagues, weekends hiking in the Cascades or watching the Seahawks. I'd been married once in my 30s, a brief, amicable failure that taught me I wasn't great at relationships. Since then, I'd dated casually, nothing serious. I told myself I was content. Then I met Rebecca Morrison. It was late April 2021, and Seattle was doing that thing where it pretends spring might actually arrive. I'd reluctantly downloaded a dating app after Jennifer's persistent nagging, "You're going to die alone with that expensive coffee maker, Brian," and Rebecca's profile appeared on a Saturday morning. Her photos showed a woman with an easy smile, dark blonde hair, and eyes that seemed genuinely kind. Her bio said she was a marketing consultant, loved hiking, and was looking for someone real in a city full of tech brothers. I almost swiped past. I'd seen 100 similar profiles. But something made me pause. Maybe it was the photo of her at the top of Mailbox Peak, windblown and laughing. Maybe it was pure chance. I swiped right. We matched instantly. Our first date was at a coffee shop in Fremont. Not pretentious, not trying too hard, just good coffee and conversation. Rebecca arrived exactly on time, wearing jeans and a University of Washington hoodie, looking nothing like she was trying to impress me and somehow impressing me more because of it. "I'm probably going to sound crazy," she said after we'd been talking for 20 minutes, "but I feel like I've known you forever. Is that weird?" I laughed, felt my guard dropping in a way it rarely did. If that's crazy, then I'm crazy too. We talked for 3 hours. She told me about growing up in Spokane, about losing her father to a heart attack when she was 19, about moving to Seattle for a fresh start. When I mentioned my mom had died of breast cancer when I was 25, her eyes filled with tears. "That's the worst age to lose a parent," she said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "You're old enough to understand the permanence, but young enough to still desperately need them." It was the most accurate thing anyone had ever said about that loss. We started seeing each other regularly. Rebecca was easy to be with. She laughed at my terrible jokes, didn't mind my predictable routines, and seemed genuinely interested in my work stories that bored most people. She was affectionate without being clingy, independent without being distant. After years of awkward dating, I'd found someone who just fit. "I really like this one," Jennifer said when she met Rebecca at a Mariners game in June. "She's not trying to change you. That's rare." By August, we were essentially living together, splitting time between her studio apartment in Ballard and my condo. We fell into comfortable rhythms: farmers market on Sundays, trying new restaurants in different neighborhoods, weekend trips to the San Juans. Rebecca talked about maybe getting a dog together, about how she'd never felt this settled with anyone. I was happy. Genuinely, deeply happy in a way I hadn't been since before my mom died. Then, on an unremarkable Tuesday evening in late August, Rebecca came home from what she'd said was a routine doctor's appointment and sat me down at my kitchen table. Her hands were shaking. Her face was pale. "I got some results back today," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Brian, I have cancer. Stage 2 breast cancer." The world tilted. The kitchen, my kitchen with its granite countertops and stainless steel appliances, the kitchen where we'd cooked dinner together just last night, suddenly felt like it belonged to someone else's life. "They found a lump 3 weeks ago," she continued, tears streaming down her face now. "I didn't want to worry you until I knew for sure. The biopsy came back positive. I start treatment next month." She pulled papers from her purse, printouts with medical terminology I recognized from my mother's illness. Oncologist appointments. Treatment protocols. The name Dr. Patricia Okonkwo at Swedish Medical Center stamped across the top. "I understand if this is too much," Rebecca said, not meeting my eyes. "We've only been together 4 months. You didn't sign up for this. If you want to take a break until I'm through treatment, I completely—" "Stop," I said, taking her hands in mine. The decision was instant, instinctive, absolute. After watching my mother fight alone while I was too young and powerless to really help, I could not, let cancer take someone I loved again. Not when I finally had the resources to actually make a difference. "You're not going through this alone," I told her, my voice firm despite the fear coursing through me. "I'm here for everything. Every appointment, every treatment, every bad day and good day. I promise you, Rebecca. I'm not going anywhere." She collapsed into my arms, sobbing. "I don't deserve you." "Yes, you do," I whispered into her hair, already mentally rearranging my life to accommodate this new reality. I had no idea I'd just signed my own death warrant. I poured my heart into this story because I believe real emotions still matter. My girlfriend laughed and said I'd never even reach 1,000 subscribers. She might be right, unless someone like you proves her wrong. Please hit subscribe, not for me alone, but for the stories that deserve to be heard. The first appointment was scheduled for a Thursday in September at Swedish Medical Center's oncology wing. I took the morning off work, drove Rebecca there in rush hour traffic, my hands tight on the steering wheel as she stared silently out the window. "Do you want me to come in with you?" I asked as we pulled into the parking garage. "I can take notes, ask the doctor questions, whatever you need." Rebecca turned to me, and her eyes held something I couldn't quite identify. Later, much later, I would recognize it as calculation. But in that moment, I interpreted it as fear. "No, baby," she said softly. "It's too painful for me to have you see me like that. The examination, the discussions about my body, the clinical nature of it all. I need you to be my safe space. The place where I'm not just a cancer patient. Can you understand that?" Of course I could understand. I was trying to be supportive, not controlling. "Whatever you need," I said, squeezing her hand. I waited in the parking garage for 45 minutes, answering work emails on my phone and trying not to imagine the worst. When Rebecca emerged, she looked exhausted. There was a small bruise forming on her inner elbow, and foreport, I assumed. "How did it go?" I asked as she climbed into the car. "Dr. Okonkwo is wonderful," she said, leaning her head against the window. "The treatment plan is aggressive, but she thinks we caught it early enough. I'm lucky." I reached over and took her hand. "We're going to beat this." This became our pattern. Tuesdays and Thursdays were treatment days. I'd drive Rebecca to Swedish, wait in the car or the cafeteria, and she'd emerge 45 minutes to an hour later, always tired, sometimes with that 4 bruise on her arm. She never wanted me to come inside. "Let me keep one part of my life separate from the cancer," she'd say whenever I offered. "You're my normal, Brian. I need that." By October, the treatments were clearly taking their toll. Rebecca was tired all the time, nauseous in the mornings, emotional in ways she hadn't been before. My boss, Tom Chen, called me into his office one afternoon. "Brian, I need to talk to you about your performance," he said, not unkindly. "You've missed 4 client meetings this month. The Morrison project is behind schedule. This isn't like you." I'd been ducking out early on treatment days, distracted during meetings, using all my personal time for doctor's appointments and caring for Rebecca during her bad days. "My girlfriend has cancer," I said. "I'm doing the best I can." Tom's expression softened. "I'm sorry, Brian. That's terrible. Look, we can work something out. Flex hours, work from home some days. But I need you to communicate with me. This company has been good to you. Don't throw away your career." But that's exactly what I was preparing to do. In November, Rebecca's condition worsened, or so she said. She needed more intensive treatment, more time off work, more support. My sister Jennifer came to visit one weekend and found our usually immaculate condo in disarray, Rebecca in bed at 2 in the afternoon, me looking like I hadn't slept in days. "Brian, can we talk outside?" Jennifer asked, her voice careful. We stood on my condo balcony, the Seattle drizzle misting our faces. The Space Needle rose in the distance, a landmark from the life I was systematically dismantling. "I'm worried about you," Jennifer said. "You look terrible. You're never at Sunday brunch anymore. Mom's friends from the cancer support group asked about you. They wanted to connect Rebecca with resources, but you never followed up." "I've been busy, Jen." "Too busy to let people help? Too busy to take care of yourself?" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Brian, I know this is going to sound terrible, but have you actually met her oncologist? Have you gone to any appointments with her?" Something cold moved through my chest. "She doesn't want me there. It's too painful for her." "That's convenient." "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Jennifer held up her hands. "I'm just saying when Mom was sick, she wanted us there. She wanted support, witnesses, people to ask questions she was too scared to ask. Patients don't usually exclude their partners from everything." "Rebecca is not Mom," I said, my voice harder than I intended. "Everyone handles illness differently." "I can't believe you're implying." "I'm not implying anything. I'm asking if you verified anything. That's all." "Get out," I said quietly. "Brian," I said, "get out. If you can't be supportive, I don't need you here." My sister left, and we didn't speak for 3 weeks. By December, Rebecca's medical bills were mounting. Insurance was covering some costs, she said, but not all. The experimental treatment Dr. Okonkwo recommended, the one that might save her life, wasn't fully covered. It would cost $45,000 out of pocket. I didn't hesitate. I liquidated half my retirement account, paid the penalties, and handed Rebecca a check. "I can't accept this," she said, crying. "It's too much." "It's your life," I said. "That's worth everything." On Christmas Eve, I made the biggest decision yet. Rebecca needed full-time care, someone available for the increasing number of appointments and emergency situations. Her marketing consulting business had dried up, who could work while fighting cancer? And she was behind on rent for her studio. I called Tom Chen on December 27th. "I'm resigning," I told him. "I need to focus on family." There was a long silence. "Brian, I understand you're going through something difficult, but this is career suicide. You've been with this company for 12 years. At least take a leave of absence." "My girlfriend is dying," I said flatly. "My career can wait." "Your girlfriend has cancer," Tom corrected gently. "That's not the same as dying. Brian, I've known you a long time. This doesn't feel like you. You're making decisions from a place of panic." "My decision is made." I gave my 2 weeks' notice. My colleagues threw me a subdued going-away party where everyone whispered about how tragic it was, how noble I was being. Sarah Martinez, a senior developer I'd mentored for years, pulled me aside. "You know my sister had breast cancer," she said. "She beat it. There's life after treatment, Brian. Don't burn everything down. You can't help Rebecca if you destroy yourself." But I wasn't listening to anyone anymore. I was in it now, fully committed, and there was no turning back. By January 2022, I was unemployed for the first time since college. Rebecca moved into my condo officially. It made sense, since I was her full-time caregiver now. We converted my home office into a second bedroom so she could rest undisturbed. My $195,000 salary became $0. My savings account started its slow bleed. And Rebecca's cancer, somehow, got neither better nor worse. She existed in this perpetual state of needing just one more treatment, just one more experimental protocol, just a little more time and money. Dr. Okonkwo is very optimistic, she'd say after each phantom appointment. This new treatment is really working. I wanted so desperately to believe her. By the summer of 2022, I was unrecognizable. I'd lost 30 pounds, not from healthy eating, but from the kind of stress that makes food taste like cardboard. The face that looked back at me from the bathroom mirror was gaunt, aged a decade in less than a year. Gray hair sprouted at my temples. The lines around my eyes had deepened into permanent grooves. My condo, once my pride, almost paid off, was now mortgaged to the hilt. I'd taken out a home equity line of credit for Rebecca's treatments. Another $80,000 gone. I'd found part-time work doing freelance project management, enough to cover basic bills but nothing like my old salary. Most days, I worked from a laptop at our kitchen table while Rebecca rested in the bedroom, emerging periodically looking wan and fragile. My sister Jennifer had tried reaching out a few times after our fight. Her texts evolved from angry, "You're making a huge mistake," to concerned, "Please call me," to eventually just sad, "I miss my brother." I'd blocked her number in March after she sent me an article about Munchausen syndrome and factitious disorder. I had no one left. That's how it works with isolation, you don't notice it happening until you're already alone. In August 2022, almost exactly a year after Rebecca's diagnosis, something strange happened. I ran into a man at the Safeway on Broadway, someone who looked at Rebecca with an expression of shocked recognition. "Becca?" he said, his voice sharp with disbelief. Rebecca went rigid beside me, her hand tightening on the shopping cart handle. "I'm sorry, I think you have me confused with someone else." The man stepped closer. He was about my age, fit, with the kind of wary eyes that suggested he'd seen some things. "It's me, Derek Morrison. Your husband." The grocery store seemed to tilt. "Her what?" "Ex-husband," Rebecca said quickly, her voice suddenly strong, not the weak, cancer patient voice she usually used. "Derek is my ex-husband from years ago. We don't have contact for a reason." Derek's laugh was bitter. "Yeah, the reason being you faked a chronic illness to drain my bank account and then disappeared. Becca, you told me you had lupus. Then it was fibromyalgia. Then it was chronic Lyme disease. I paid for treatments for 2 years before I figured out you were lying." My heart was hammering. "You're obviously mistaken. Rebecca has breast cancer. She's been in treatment for a year." Derek's expression shifted from anger to something like pity. "Brother, run. Run now. This woman is a con artist. She finds decent guys, pretends to be sick, and bleeds them dry. I lost $200,000 and my sanity. Don't make my mistake." "He's delusional," Rebecca said, her voice rising. "He stalked me after our divorce. I had to get a restraining order. Brian, please, let's go." We left our groceries and rushed to the car. In the parking lot, Rebecca had what appeared to be a panic attack, hyperventilating, crying, shaking. I held her, telling her it was okay, that I believed her, that the man was clearly disturbed. "He never believed I was sick," she sobbed into my chest. "He thought I was making it up for attention. It destroyed our marriage. I should have told you I was married before. I'm sorry, I just wanted to forget that part of my life." "It's okay," I soothed even as something cold and uncomfortable settled in my stomach. "It's okay." But it wasn't okay. That night, after Rebecca fell asleep, I did something I'd never done before. I Googled Derek Morrison Seattle. I found his LinkedIn, real estate agent, seemed legitimate. Then I searched for Rebecca Morrison Derek Morrison Seattle. Nothing. No marriage records, no divorce records, no restraining order. Of course, she could have gotten married under a different name, I told myself. Records aren't always online. I was looking for reasons to doubt the doubt itself. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I did something even more invasive. While Rebecca was in the shower, I looked through her purse for her medical insurance card. I'd never actually seen it, I realized. In over a year of treatments, I'd never seen a single insurance statement, never received a single medical bill. The insurance card I found listed a small company I'd never heard of. I called the customer service number while Rebecca's shower ran. "I'm calling to verify coverage for Rebecca Morrison," I told the representative. There was typing. I show Ms. Morrison's policy was canceled for non-payment in June 2021. She hasn't had active coverage with us for over a year. June 2021. Before her diagnosis. Are you sure? She's been undergoing cancer treatment. Sir, according to our records, no claims were ever submitted for Ms. Morrison during the time her policy was active. Not a single doctor's visit. I hung up. Rebecca emerged from the shower, toweling her hair. "Who were you talking to?" "Wrong number," I said automatically. That afternoon, I took her to another appointment at Swedish. I watched her walk into the building. Then I did something I'd never done before. I followed her. She didn't go to the oncology wing. She walked straight through the building's lobby and out the other side, into a Starbucks across the street. I watched through the window as she ordered a venti caramel macchiato, sat down with a magazine, and scrolled through her phone for exactly 45 minutes. Then she went into the Starbucks bathroom. When she came out, there was a fresh bruise on her inner elbow. She'd given herself an 4 bruise. I watched her do it. I left before she saw me, drove home in a daze, and waited. When Rebecca came home looking appropriately exhausted, I asked, "How was Dr. Okonkwo?" "Tough session today," she sighed. "The new protocol is really taking it out of me." I nodded. Said nothing. That night, I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Lay next to her in bed thinking about Derek Morrison's warning, about the canceled insurance, about 45 minutes in Starbucks, about a bruise she'd inflicted on herself. But I still didn't confront her. Because confronting her meant admitting I'd destroyed my entire life for a lie. And I wasn't ready for that yet. I told myself I needed proof. Real proof. That's what I told myself for 6 more months. The truth came on a Tuesday in March 2023. Rebecca was at another appointment, or Starbucks, or wherever she actually went during those carefully timed absences. I was at our kitchen table, trying to focus on a freelance project that was already overdue, when I noticed her laptop sitting open. She'd forgotten to close it in her rush out the door. I should have closed it. Should have respected her privacy. But something, maybe Derek Morrison's haunted eyes, maybe the insurance revelation I'd been suppressing for months, maybe just exhaustion from living in cognitive dissonance, made me lean forward and tap the trackpad. The screen woke up to her email inbox. I told myself I was just going to close it. That's what I told myself as I scanned the subject lines. One caught my eye. B Project, Month 34 Update. My hand moved almost without conscious thought. I clicked. The email was to someone named Cassandra78. The message read, "He's almost tapped out. The home equity got me another 80K, but he's on to the freelance income now and there's not much left to squeeze. Thinking I need to plan my exit strategy. Might do the remission storyline and then a dramatic relapse that makes me need to go live with a specialist across the country. That usually works clean." My vision tunneled. I scrolled up to previous messages in the thread. Cassandra78's response from a week earlier. 34 months is a good run. My record is 28 before they catch on. What's your total take? Rebecca's reply. Just crossed 300K. Would be more, but he's not as rich as I thought. Should have vetted his finances better before the cancer play. I was going to be sick. My hands shaking, I opened her browser history. There, meticulously catalogued, was everything. A forum called The Game, where people, dozens, maybe hundreds of people, discuss strategies for faking illnesses, manipulating partners, and extracting maximum financial benefit before disappearing. Rebecca's posts, under the username Becca Diamond, detailed every step of her con. How she'd chosen breast cancer because it was my emotional vulnerability after losing my mother. How she'd fabricated medical documents using Canva and Photoshop. How she'd created fake email addresses for Dr. Okonkwo to send me appointment confirmations when I'd asked to see them. There were tips on how to create realistic 4 bruises. Ice cube held on the vein for 30 seconds, then pinch hard. How to fake weight loss. Just stop eating before you see the mark. How to research enough medical terminology to sound credible. In one post from just last month, she'd written, "Pro tip, find marks who have dead parents from your chosen disease. They're not trying to save you, they're trying to rewrite their own trauma. They need you to survive." It's like a psychological cheat code. I found the fabricated medical documents in a folder labeled Props. Consultation notes from the fictional Dr. Okonkwo. Lab results showing cancer markers I now realized I'd never actually seen in person, only in printouts Rebecca brought home. Treatment plans copied and pasted from actual oncology websites. I found photographs of the 4 bruises she'd given herself, cataloged by date, with notes about which methods worked best. I found her real medical records. No cancer. Not even a biopsy. The only prescription she had was for Xanax, dated 2 years before we met. I found correspondence with other men. At least 3, running simultaneously to our relationship. Different cons. One thought she had MS, another that she had a rare heart condition. She rated them like a fantasy sports league. James, 8 out of 10, good income but too suspicious. Might need to cut loose. Marcus, 6/10, generous but poor. Not worth the time investment. Brian, 9 out of 10, total mark, emotionally vulnerable, generous, trusting to a fault. That's what I was. Brian, a 9/10 mark. I found her calendar, color-coded. My appointment days were marked in blue. Her real therapy sessions, where she apparently worked through her compulsion to manipulate, were marked in red. Days she went on actual dates with one of the other marks were marked in green. I found her financial spreadsheet. She tracked every dollar she'd extracted from me with the precision of an accountant. $347,280.19, to be exact. She'd included projections for how much more she estimated she could get before needing to execute her exit strategy. The folder I finally found, the one that broke something fundamental in me, was labeled B Project Photo Insurance. Inside were screenshots of all our text conversations, all the emails I'd sent her about how much I loved her, all the receipts from money I'd given her. In a document titled, If Caught, she'd written out a detailed defense strategy about how I was a controlling partner, how the money was gifts, how she'd break my credibility by painting me as obsessed and unstable. She'd planned for the possibility of being caught. She'd weaponized my love as a future defense. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been minutes. Could have been hours. At some point, I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself. Then I closed the laptop, returned it to exactly where she'd left it, and sat in our kitchen in perfect silence. The rain hammered Seattle outside. The city continued its life, oblivious to the fact that mine had just ended. When I heard her key in the door at 3:47 p.m., I was still sitting there. She came in looking appropriately tired, her performance perfected over 1,127 days of practice. "Hey baby. Rough session today. Dr. Okonkwo thinks we need to increase the..." "Dr. Patricia Okonkwo doesn't exist," I said. My voice was calm. Eerily calm. "She's a name you pulled from a medical journal and a stock photo you downloaded from a hospital website." Rebecca froze. For just a fraction of a second, her mask slipped, and I saw something predatory move across her features. Then the performance began. Rebecca cycled through her strategies with the precision of someone who'd done this before. First came confusion. "Brian, what are you talking about? Are you feeling okay?" "I found everything," I said, still in that strange calm. "The forum. The other marks. The fabricated documents. The spreadsheet tracking every dollar you've stolen from me. All of it." Confusion became concern. "Baby, you're scaring me. Have you been sleeping? The stress of everything, maybe you're having some kind of breakdown. I watched you give yourself an 4 bruise in the Starbucks bathroom 6 months ago." Her face went white. There was a long silence. Then came anger. You followed me? You invaded my privacy? After everything I've been through, you're spying on me like some kind of stalker. You don't have cancer, Rebecca. You never did. How dare you? Her voice rose, tears forming, real tears, I noticed with detached fascination. She could actually cry on command. I am fighting for my life, and my partner is accusing me of lying? This is abuse, Brian. This is actual abuse. I have screenshots of everything. I know about Cassandra 78. I know about James and Marcus and whoever else you're running this con on right now. I know you rated me a 9/10 mark because I'm trusting to a fault. The tears stopped. Just like that, like someone had flipped a switch. What replaced them was something cold and calculating. Rebecca, or whoever she really was, tilted her head slightly, studying me like I was an interesting specimen. When did you find out? She asked, her voice completely different now. Clinical. Does it matter? 6 months ago when you saw the Starbucks thing. It wasn't a question. You knew for 6 months and said nothing. Pathetic. The word hung in the air between us. You're so desperate to save someone, she continued, her voice taking on a contemptuous edge, that you ignored your own eyes. I saw it the first week we dated, the way you practically drooled when I mentioned my dead dad. The way you overpaid for coffee and told me to keep the change at the tip jar. You have Mark written all over you, Brian. You wanted to be used. Get out, I said quietly. She laughed. Actually laughed. Or what? You'll call the police? Tell them what? That your girlfriend of 3 years accepted money you willingly gave her? That you're upset because you found out I don't actually have cancer? That's not a crime, Brian. You gave me everything. There's a paper trail of gifts, of you supporting your sick girlfriend. Any lawyer will shred you in minutes. She was right and we both knew it. I have the forum posts, I said. Your detailed instructions on how to con people. That's fraud. Good luck proving I wrote those. Anonymous forum, no real name, no connection to me. And even if you did, you think the Seattle PD is going to investigate relationship drama? They'll laugh you out of the station. She grabbed her purse, started throwing items into it from around the apartment. You know what the saddest part is? I was actually going to give you the remission storyline. Let you have your happy ending, slowly extract yourself as, I need to focus on my health independently. It would have been kind. But you had to go snooping. This is my condo, I said. I want you out. Tonight. Fine. I'm bored anyway. She was packing quickly now, efficiently, like she'd done this before. Oh, by the way, I cleaned out the shared account this morning. That $4,200 you were saving for next month's mortgage? Gone. Consider it my exit bonus. Something in me cracked. I loved you. She paused at the door, turned back. For just a moment, I thought I saw something human in her eyes. But when she spoke, her voice was flat. No, you didn't. You loved the idea of being a hero. You loved getting to sacrifice yourself because it made you feel important. I just gave you what you wanted, someone to save. You're welcome. Then she was gone. I sat in the sudden silence of my condo, the space that used to be my sanctuary and had become my prison. I thought about calling the police. Instead, I called my sister. Jennifer, I said when she answered, my voice finally breaking. You were right. About everything. I need help. She was on my doorstep in 20 minutes. The next weeks were a blur of humiliation. I filed a police report, and Detective Sarah Park was sympathetic but blunt. This is financial exploitation within a romantic relationship. Unless we can prove criminal fraud, which is nearly impossible when you voluntarily gave her the money, it's a civil matter. You can sue her, but recovery is unlikely. I got a restraining order when Rebecca created fake social media accounts to harass me, posting our private conversations out of context to make me look unstable. The order was granted based on the harassment, but the judge looked at me with pity that was almost worse than Rebecca's contempt. Jennifer helped me move back home with her temporarily. I couldn't afford my condo anymore, not with the home equity loan, not with no savings, not with freelance income that barely covered groceries. I started therapy. Real therapy, with Dr. Lisa Hammond, who specialized in trauma from psychological abuse. What you experienced is called financial and emotional exploitation, she told me in our third session. It's more common than people think, and it's not your fault. But it felt like my fault. Every day felt like my fault. I joined a support group for victims of financial abuse. Sitting in a community center basement in Ballard, listening to other people's stories, I realized I wasn't alone. There was Maria, who'd given her boyfriend $200,000 for a business venture that never existed. There was John, whose wife had faked a child's illness to extract money from him and her own parents. There was Ashley, whose partner had run up $100,000 in credit card debt in her name. We were all educated people. Successful people. Good people who'd been expertly manipulated by someone who'd made it their profession. 6 months after Rebecca left, I got a Facebook message from a stranger named Michael Chin. I think your ex-girlfriend is engaged to my brother. Can we talk? I met Michael at a coffee shop. Ironically, the same one where Rebecca and I had our first date. He showed me pictures of Rebecca with his brother, a kind-looking aerospace engineer named David. The story was familiar: whirlwind romance, sudden illness diagnosis, ovarian cancer this time, requests for money starting small and growing larger. I tried to warn him, Michael said, frustrated. But he thinks I'm being cruel. He thinks I don't want him to be happy. I knew that feeling. I showed Michael everything I had. The screenshots, the forum posts, the documentation. Give this to your brother. Tell him it's his choice what to do with it, but he deserves to know the truth. 2 days later, David called me. Rebecca's engagement was off. She'd disappeared again, apparently to Portland this time. How did you survive this? David asked me, his voice raw. I'm not sure I have yet, I admitted. But I'm trying. A year and a half after the revelation, I'm piecing my life back together. I got a job at a smaller tech company, not the salary I used to make, but honest work. I settled the home equity loan through a modification program. I'm rebuilding my savings $50 at a time. My relationship with Jennifer is stronger than ever. I see Dr. Hammond weekly. I'm careful with trust now, maybe too careful, but I'm working on it. I think about Rebecca sometimes. Wonder if she feels anything, if there's any. If this story moved you, please like, share and subscribe to keep this channel alive.